Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Wixo Season 2. We are now on the 6th episode of this series, and in the last episode we saw our first really huge empire. We obviously have seen empires before, but in the last episode we saw the start, I guess the expansion, as these guys already were kind of well set up in the episode prior, but the rapid expansion occurred as the king is a very strong military-minded general, and he was able to take advantage of many weakenings of the countries north. For instance, Egypt and Iraq. These two countries were huge empires. However, due to instability and collapse and the king's strategy, he was able to completely destroy them and has forged himself the first huge empire. And in this episode, we will be continuing to look at some aspects of this empire, some very interesting ones, in fact, and we will also be taking a look at a lot more exploration. But if you guys do end up enjoying this episode, please be sure to like and subscribe and leave any ideas in the comments, and let's get straight into it. So the first thing that we're going to be taking a look at is going to be over here in the Americas, because explorers from the Central American region, I should probably call this area, have sent down more exploration groups, and they have discovered South America, and many people begin to spread down here and begin to set up their first small societies, bring technology, and this actually causes some of the local tribes to sort of form a conglomerate, and we see our first few countries pop up. Or for now, it'll just be one country. As we see this lavenderish Venezuela country pop up, and the reason that it starts out in this area is because the first ever South American city is here, and it eventually just spread, and eventually this became a proper nation. These guys, they kind of live on stilt huts. They're a seafaring nation. They're big into fishing, and they immediately, they don't really expand. Basically, what we see happening is, like I said, it's kind of a conglomerate. A bunch of these other tribes just decide to join up with them, and this allows them to pretty quickly create a fairly big society. Back up in the north, the Mexican countries are growing. We have the central one expand a lot, in fact, all the way up to this river, and a little bit up the northern coast. And that's a pretty huge advancement for them. And they also expand a little bit down south, as well as up north. We have the pink Belize country go ahead and expand into this part of Central America, and the Yucatan country expands across, and eventually it forms a proper border over here with the main country. We also have it expanding a little bit more down the coast too. In the north, we have the big Mississippi country go ahead and explore even further, and fueled by their religious views, they are now an absolute theocracy country. They have united their population, and due to this, they gain a lot of stability, and this allows them to be able to conquer vast regions. Now, I don't want to make them too large because that would be quite unrealistic, because these guys are Native American equivalents, but they are still able to expand quite a lot. And then we have something pretty major happening. We have way more, in-depth fishing technology be set up in this country, and this allows them to move in and discover a lot more ocean. And eventually, we have this event happening as we have the two American groups finally meet up with each other, and this is an extremely interesting chain of events here, as on the one hand, these guys are quite friendly. This country has really improved itself a lot. This is a very good place to be. You're free to do whatever you want. They do have this core religion, but it's not forced. You can just choose not to be. And these two countries over here, they all have good relations. They all trade with each other. They also have now traded with this guy down here. So these guys are actually living in pretty good peace right now. But then up north, you've got this super racist country that has just fought a civil war, causing all of its people to be, complete fundamentalist religious peoples. And they are not very fond of the fact that these guys have their own religion. So yeah, this is probably not going to end out too well. Up in the north, this country is scared, so they decide to, conquer some tribes to strengthen themselves. But it isn't long before, these guys enter into some sort of diplomacy with each other, they discuss each other, but these guys begin to get very aggressive to the Central American nations, and they're like, you need to convert to our religion. And these guys are like, why? We literally didn't even come from the Mississippi. And that offends the diplomat of these guys so much. He can't do anything while he's at the meeting, because the meeting is in the capital of the Mexican country. But as soon as he returns home, he tells them that these guys say that the Mississippi isn't important, they're being blasphemous, we need to invade. So, almost immediately after this meeting takes place, we have a huge naval fleet from these guys begin to move down. They quickly move across and they begin to launch an invasion, and they call this a holy crusade. So we have a little bit of a crusade going on here, and they are claiming that they are invading to cleanse this area and put the rightful religion in. They quickly capture the capital of the Yucatan country, and this is very bad because this is the first war that these guys have ever seen, so they're not prepared. These guys are way more militaristic because they've had to conquer a lot more, and they've also fought that, thing and all this stuff I've said before. But these guys mostly just conquer or collaborate with nearby tribes to expand their country. So yeah, it's quite unfair. The Yucatan country just gets completely rolled over and it just dies. And after this, the Mississippi country begins a rapid crossing into the main Mexican country. We quickly have their Yucatan holdings be invaded into, and while this is going on, the religious people begin to get persecuted as we have our first forceful conversions take place. And this is very bad. People are being slaughtered over this, and if they refuse, they're being killed, and they're being forced to change their values, and this is just a really bad event for these guys down here. We have the continuous invasion in, and eventually the river on which the capital city is reached. I'm just going to get rid of that so you can see it better because the capital covers this river. And we have our first major battle take place. And in this fighting, the Mississippi country is able to defeat the Mexican army. This is like the entire Mexican army, and it's not the entire Mississippi army. And Mississippi still has an advantage here of about 2-1. They are able to, they kind of defeat the forces fighting over here, and they are able to build river crossings, and any armies that try to stop them after they cross the river on these river crossings are defeated, and that is what allows them to be able to capture the capital city. And unfortunately, they completely burn this city to the ground and completely destroy it, killing about 40% of all people here. And this is absolutely horrific for these countries. This is the worst atrocities seen in the Americas so far, even worse than the stuff that happened in that Civil War. And this just causes complete chaos in the Mexican countries, and these troops just begin to roll on through. We next have the Belize country begin to get invaded into, and they actually managed to hold on to their capital, as most of the forces are over here, and these guys actually have some decent strategy, which is why they've been able to conquer this land so quickly. But over in the Mexican country, it's really not going well anymore, and we have several breakaway states begin to emerge. We have this large breakaway state go ahead and form up over here. We have this one in the north, this orangish one breakaway, and at this point the central Mexican country is completely collapsing. We have this purple one. This is kind of, I didn't even mean to do this, but this is the same colour as that other country that used to be here. So I guess this is somewhat a continuation, although that country probably died out over 100 years ago. And yeah, with this happening, these guys just flood in. And smartly, we actually see the Mississippi country just leave these guys alone in order to not make this war harder than it needs to be, as by this point they have started to cross into territory that they are very unfamiliar with, and they're not really able to fight easily here. And we also see them conquering many of the tribes in this area that are part of this religion, and it's just a complete slaughter. Looking back at the religion layer, we have basically all of these peoples in the Yucatan be completely exterminated. And yeah, most of the tribes here that are a lot weaker get killed even easier, or killed or converted. And yeah, it's just a complete disaster. And after the capital of this Belize country falls, it's basically over. We have diplomats in the Belize country agreeing to peace, and we can now go ahead and see what this area looks like now. Okay, so this is what we see go ahead and take place here, and there is quite a bit to cover. So, first of all, the original Mexican country is completely gone. It has been completely destroyed, the governing body is gone, and the rebellions have taken control over any remaining land. And as you can see, many of this land has just completely fallen over to tribes. In the center, the northern part of the Belize country, which is now this like Nicaraguan country, the core regions of the Mexican country and the Yucatan country have been either annexed or turned into this vassal of the Mississippi country. The reason they do this is because it's a little bit easier to control if they have like a regional government here. And this government is controlled by the Blue Religion, obviously, which, as you can see, has been completely spread into the Yucatan Peninsula and even further south. And obviously it's only in the holdings that these guys have. But yeah, the Green Religion people here are being completely persecuted. And while these guys broke away from the main Mexican country, they are still that same religion. They have those ideals. And if you think that these guys are neutral to the Mississippi country, you would be completely wrong. All of these guys here now completely hate the Mississippi country. They've taken this system before. Like down here, these guys were all peaceful. It was nice to be down here. But now there's like several warring clans. The people are starving because there's not enough food to go around. Basically, there's too many people here to be sustained by these countries. So essentially, a bunch of people are going to have to die off before the people have enough food to survive again. So they're letting people die just so that they can be stable, which is pretty awful. And these guys all hate Mississippi now. But yeah, Mississippi has conquered this land, and it'll be interesting to see what happens over here in the coming episodes. Anyway, moving over to Europe, we're going to see a bit more land be explored. We have a little bit more of this Iranian region be explored too, and we have our first peoples go ahead and discover this part of India as trading ships move along and begin to trade with many Indian tribes along the coast. We have more exploration, mainly done by Sudan, into this region down here, discovering a lot more of the coast of the Arabian regions and the African regions over here. We have a lot more exploration be done into Spain. Obviously not into the Pyrenees Mountains though, because they are big. And we have our first discovery of the British Isles, mainly done by the Normandy country. And speaking of the Normandy country, they actually go ahead and expand quite a bit here. We have them taking over this land, moving down the coast. And I just do want to mention, this isn't happening in like this sequence of events. So while this stuff was going on, the stuff that I'm going to cover in the other regions of the world is happening. But it's easier to do like one event and then the next rather than just doing them all at the same time, obviously. So yeah, this is going on while that war is happening over there. But yeah, these guys expand quite a bit. We also have this blue central French country be established. And we have this olive Belgian country be established up here. And yeah, so there is a lot more Gaul nations. This country down here it goes ahead and expands a little bit more. And we have some cities go ahead and be established in these areas. Back over to Normandy, they continue to conquer a little bit more of the French interior, just like so. And they also set up a colony in this region over here. Down in Spain, we have the Spanish country continue to go ahead and expand, now meeting up with Gibraltar and taking over parts of northern Morocco. And yeah, these guys are doing pretty decently. They are very mainly a coastal country though, so they can't really invade inland. Those Spanish tribes that were there, they are still not too happy. I mean, these guys are more Spanish, but they are Greek as well, so it's an interesting dynamic there. Over in India, we have our first Indian country pop up. This is our first Indian trading kingdom, and very shortly after, we have another one pop up over here in the Gujarat Peninsula, and these guys will obviously have their capital cities. Moving up north, I'm just focusing on expansion for a little bit. We have, I'm just going to call this Azerbaijan country. They are going to go ahead and expand quite a lot. They have some pretty good military equipment. They have invented some, better swords, better, probably, I'm not really sure, like some stuff that was invented for fighting. These guys invent some stuff that was invented for fighting in our real history. These guys go ahead and invent it. And interestingly, they actually begin to pillage some parts of Sudan in these Mesopotamian areas. And this causes a little bit of territory loss here. But the general, we are now going to focus on Sudan. He is going to go on another conquest, and let's just say this one might not go as well as the previous ones, and his goal is to conquer Turkey. So when he invaded Iraq, which, they're not doing so hot anymore, a bunch of the Turkish tribe, they used to be like this up here, Iraq did. A bunch of the Turkish tribes took this land, and they have continued to raid cities over here. And the general, he is adamant to stop this, so he launches a full-on conquest of these Turkish tribes. And he begins to keep going, and at this point, he gets quite cocky. and we'll see what he does, but he completely demolishes these guys. Obviously, they have a much better army now that they're huge, and their strategy is obviously really good, like I did mention in the previous episodes. And yeah, they do really well, and they are able to conquer a huge chunk of this Turkish area. But like I said, he begins to get a bit cocky, and it's not for an awful reason. I mean, by this point, he's almost 50, and at this point, life expectancy is probably early 50s, so he is like, okay, right, I'm gonna die soon, so I want the last thing I do to go on another huge conquest like when I took over Egypt and Iraq, and I am confident that I will be able to do this. So, the king is going to go on another conquest, and this is what I was sort of speaking of earlier. He sees one final victim, I suppose, that he can defeat in order to gain complete dominance. And who would that be? Well, that would of course be Greece, and more so, in fact, Greece's economical alliance. Greece and Constantinople are next on the chopping block. So after building up his army for a bit, he's probably also taken over a little bit more of this Egyptian region. But yeah, after building up his army for a bit, conquering a few more lands, he is ready to go on his conquest, as he launches his invasion of Constantinople, rapidly moving through. And at first it goes extremely well, however, unfortunately for him, it doesn't go as he expected. He wanted to launch a naval invasion of this northern region up here, however the superior Greek navy was able to hold him back, and unfortunately for him, this is probably the worst thing that could have happened. He gets stuck in a war of attrition at the siege of Constantinople, and he kind of expected this would happen, that's why he wanted to launch this naval invasion. But with that failing, he is stuck here, and during the siege, we have a Constantinople bowman shoot him as he is guiding his army at the front. He is shot dead, and this causes a very bad morale loss for his army. His generals, he has several generals here with him. His generals begin to kind of freak out a bit, and during this chaos, most of the generals up here die. They are smart enough, Greece and Constantinople, to target the generals, as they know that this will cause the most disorganization, and along with this, a naval invasion is planned at this same time. And due to the fact that the king is now dead and so are his generals, this is the perfect opportunity to do this, as they move here with a lot less resistance. The armies of Sudan begin to scramble, however, they then get trapped in an encirclement, and this is insanely bad, and they get just completely wiped out. And with a majority of the generals up on this front line and the king himself dead, let's just say Sudan, they send up any generals they have up to this front line as quick as they can, and this not only causes a huge amount of disorganization, it also causes a huge amount of instability, as the country is now not being run as well as, all of the people that probably should be running the country are now up here, and because of this, this is essentially the final straw. This empire is too big for the reach, and yeah, it's going to start to collapse. As with the first crossing into the territory of the Sudanese Empire, we have many groups begin to break away. We have this huge movement over here in Iraq breakaway, and this is essentially some of the representatives governing this region. They are very power hungry. They see the chance for this, and this one is very people like this guy, which is why he's able to do this so well. And he is able to completely dominate, and he forms his own country. And with this, he begins to rapidly conquer some of these northern areas. We also have the Arab tribes. Remember I mentioned them before when I was talking about them fighting Iraq. We have them move in and begin to conquer these Jordanese areas. And pretty crazily, they actually completely overrun this city. And a sandstorm actually covers this city up, which is pretty bad. This city was the capital of that Jordanese country, so there was a bunch of, historical artifacts here, and they are now lost forever, unfortunately. Moving back over to the Iraq rebellion, these guys continue storming up Mesopotamia. And next up, we have this huge dark red country go ahead and break away in this Lebanon/southern Turkish area. And next up we have this huge yellow Egyptian revolt breakaway. The Egyptian people, who have been kind of subjugated, take the opportunity to break away, and these guys have full support from the people living in the Nile Basin, and due to this they are able to just completely destroy any garrisoning forces here. We have the southern Turkish coast be just completely taken, And we have a Greek naval landing take place here at Cyprus, and they begin to move back into their old colonies over here at this Libyan region, and they begin to collaborate with this Egyptian group, and they are able to use this to their advantage to take over a huge chunk of land. And this effectively cuts off the capital in Sudan from everything else, which I'm not going to lie, everything's just collapsing at this point. And due to this, we have kind of an opposition group rise up in Sudan, and these guys take over a bunch of the Nile areas that these guys have, and no, by capital. And just like that, that is essentially the end of the Sudanese Empire. So it fell almost as quick as it rised up. And yeah, let's go ahead and see how this empire is divided. So this is what we go ahead and see take place in the ruins of the Sudanese Empire. We have, oh, 1 second. There we go, I forgot to colour that in. But yeah, we have many new countries go ahead and form up, and these were like those regional rebellions that you saw a moment ago. So let's go ahead and go through it all. So first of all, Greece gets their old colony back, hooray for them. And they also obtain Cyprus. Constantinople gains a bunch of land over here, and they also gain a lot of ambition for conquering some more of this Turkish area. But now, new countries. So we essentially just see the Sudanese rebellion, the Egyptian rebellion, the Iraq rebellion, and the Lebanese rebellion just form countries, and there's 3 other countries that form. This one is essentially just Turkish tribes. They overran this region and they now govern it themselves, so now they have their own country finally. We have this new country. This is kind of a continuation of that Palestinian country. And then there's this country down here. These guys are extremely weak. They only formed because no one else took them in, and the peoples here just decided to form this society. We also saw a bunch of land loss to nearby tribes, which is why the shape looks a little bit different now. And yeah, so that is the end of the Sudanese Empire. And in the next episode, actually, I will be speaking about an event that happens here that is going to cause quite a few problems for some of these countries. But for now, that is going to be it for this region, and we will now be moving elsewhere. More specifically over to Japan, as we're going to have our first daily Japan update happen. That is right, I am bringing back this thing in Season 2. I really liked doing this in the last season, so I think it would be cool to see. So, what we're going to see happen is we're going to have the orangey, yellowy, like southern Japan country go ahead and invade the northern one. However, shortly after this, we have this rebellion take place in the south, and yeah, they kind of gain land, but they kind of lose land at the same time. We also have this purple country pop up over here near Tokyo, and we have this light blue country pop up in this region over here. Moving over to the central Chinese area, we have a bunch more of this land we explore. This is essentially all of that fertile land just here. All of these rivers make it, kind of easy. And we have several major expansions. First of all, Korea expands a bunch more up the peninsula. We have this northern red country go ahead and expand as well, now having a proper border with Korea. They also expand a lot more around the coast. And we have Shanghai expanding a lot in. They are able to conquer many of these central Chinese tribes and take a huge chunk of land over here. We also have them expanding more up north, taking over the river where Beijing obviously is in real life, and they also have a little bit more expansion down here in the south. Furthermore, we have Taiwan conquering a bunch more of this land over here, and we also have a little bit of a war take place as we have a joint invasion by the this green Chinese country and Taiwan take place invading this country. And the reason that this happens is because we have our very first military alliance form in the entire world, actually. Essentially, this is just the green country asking for some protection because they are in an extremely vulnerable spot, and yeah, they just decide that they need protection. Nothing wrong with that. So yeah, that is our very first military alliance right there. And one final event before we end off this video, well, 2 but in the same area. We have the big Burma country expand. These guys are now getting quite powerful, and in the same region, unfortunately for the Bangladeshi country, it's time for them to go. After they lost their major trading partner over here with the southern Chinese country, they have just been yeah, no, less food, people are starving, and people are leaving. And one of the reasons that this country is able to expand so well is that most of the people leaving this country are going down here, and eventually it becomes so bad that the society essentially collapses. The cities are deserted, and this country is essentially just wiped off the map. So goodbye, Bangladesh. Unfortunately for these guys, they didn't really set themselves up for success, and they are now eliminated. And we have the Burma country actually move up and conquer some of these lands once the country is gone. And yeah, also I lied. We're gonna have one more event because I do want to do this. I wanted to do this before, but I'm just gonna do it now. We have a war take place between the Moldovans and the Crimeans. Essentially, the Crimeans tried to tax these guys for fishing in the Black Sea. I mean, I don't really know what you thought was going to happen. You don't own the Black Sea, buddy. So we have these guys launching an invasion in, and these guys, they love fighting. They're very militaristic, and they just completely roll over the Crimean country. They just quickly conquer all of these cities. And yeah, these guys just get completely destroyed. And in this peace treaty, they get extremely heavily kicked back, and they are very weak now. But yeah, that is actually going to be it for this episode. I really hope you guys did enjoy. A lot of stuff happened this episode, and that has set up many things for the future. So yeah, and I hope I will see you guys in the next episode.